What up, you guys? I hope everybody is doing well. This is Monday evening when I'm recording. We're here for our weekly anchor message using the Wild Unknown Archetypes Oracle and the Mystical Moments Tarot. So from the Wild Unknown, we've got the Lover, followed by the Comic, followed by the King. And then we had an extra jumper come out, and it was the Ocean. So these are all characters, and this is a place. So we have the Lover, the Comic, and the King, and the Ocean. And then pairing with the Lover underneath, we've got Two of Cups. Underneath Comic, we've got the Death card. And underneath the King, we've got the Hierophant. So yeah, I love it. So I feel like the energy is shifting this week. There's definitely, if you go back and watch last night's weekly energy oracle forecast, there's like major endings and beginnings happening this week and revelatory insights that are like in between those bookends. The more that okay, so let me stop and start to say that again. So like we are in a period of a window of time called the Omer. And this is where after Passover, after the Exodus from Egypt, there's this 40-day period of testing, and every level of our soul gets tested. And this is so that once we have left Egypt and we have freed ourselves from whatever had kept us bound and limited, addictions, limiting beliefs, patterns that we've decided to break, habits we've decided to clean up, whatever it was that was our Egypt that we were not going to live under the heavy hand of anymore. We're going to break free from Egypt. It could be fear, it could be financial fear, it could be guilt or shame or something like that. It could be emotional. So we break free from that, but then the inclination, the inclination of the flesh is to go back to what we know, to go back to what's easy, to what's familiar, to that default setting. So we really have to choose and work on like really digging up any of that remaining negativity that would cause us to backslide or go back to those old habits. And so that is the gift of this 40-day period, although it can be challenging. But the challenges are really the creator sort of taking some bait and kind of waving it over us so that the dark parts of our soul and the shadow aspects and the negativity in our ego that still keeps us under that illusion or under that control, it comes out so we can see it and we can name it and we can call it out and we can shine the light on it. And the more that we can recognize those patterns, the patterns of thought, right? If we go on like these selfish tangents, or we feel victimized, or we feel like everybody else has it better, or we get in anger or bitterness or resentment. I mean, I have all of them, don't worry. This is just like a salad bar of my issues. All that stuff comes forward. And so when we see it, it's such a blessing, because then we can be like, there it is. It's reared its ugly head. Here it is. It is all its glory. And I'm calling it out, getting really familiar with it. So that way, the more that we are aware, the more that we clearly observe these patterns and these self-defeating tendencies and these self-saboteurs, it's like it undermines their power, and it breaks the cycle, and it disrupts the pattern. And so it helps us heal, but we have to be like unattached. We can't get like sucked into the emotional drama and the story of it all. We have to be able to detach and observe in like a non-judgmental, non-critical, like non-attached way. Just unemotionally unattached observation of our negativity presenting. Like, oh, there's me being envious. Oh my gosh, I'm coveting. Look at that. I am being hostile. It's extremely hostile. Wow. And then you just kind of like look at it and embrace it in all its glory, and you don't judge it, and you don't even necessarily fight it, but you do make an effort in that moment to pray, to ask for the support of the Creator, Holy Spirit. Hey, I see this now. I am willing to change this, and I want to. Can you help me see this differently? Can you help me shift my consciousness around this so that I have more compassion, more love, more trust, more certainty, whatever it is? And so we're doing that, and that's coming up. And we've been working on this, for the last couple of weeks. And so I feel that the energy is beginning to shift, and it's beginning to lighten up. And so I feel like even though there might not be any signs of big obvious opportunities yet, I feel like the stirring of opportunity. I often make reference to the process of champagnese, where champagne is fermented in the bottle, and it's taken through I think 2 stages of fermentation, and the last stage of fermentation happens when it's inside the bottle. That's the champagnese. And so it feels almost like this tension is building, and this effervescence is starting to bubble from under the surface. And something is brewing, something is bubbling. And so I feel good opportunities coming. I feel like meetings of like-minded individuals and kindred spirits and new friends and new people in our community are all kind of going to be presenting. And so it might be, the kind of thing at first where it's just these little hints of moments here and there. Sorry, everything's distracting me. Like children are screaming outside. My nephew's texting me about the party that we were working on. And so things are stirring, and I feel like the energy is shifting. I feel that the tension is breaking from a lot of the heaviness that had been going on. And even in, I don't know where you are in your part of the world, but in Tennessee this year, we had one of our cicada plagues. And they happen every 7, 9, 11 years or so. But this year was one of the really big ones. And they were so loud. Some people experienced aggressive cicadas, and they would be attacked by them and all that. I had pretty chill cicadas. Nobody attacked me much, but they were so loud. And so, I kind of liked it. I thought it was this buzz of energy, and I was having fun going out and really absorbing it all. But there was this tense screeching in the air. It was almost like in a horror movie, how they'll have that weird grating sound effect that's just kind of low, and you don't notice it, but it's just creating all the tension. It's that's what it was. It was all this tension in the air, and it's they suddenly just I woke up one morning and it was quiet. They had just died off or something. So yeah, the tension is breaking. The energy is starting to feel after a storm, just very clean and peaceful and crisp, and excitement is starting to brew. And so we have the Lover here, which has to do with the feeling of the archetypal feeling of a lover coming in and exciting you and awakening you and awakening your sensuality. And so part of leaning in and following our bliss and this awakening and lightening up and being in our joy is kind of reawakening our lust for life. A lot of times when we go through these dark nights of the soul, or we go through these big transformations or transitional periods, it's we get in this well, almost like low level depression, just trying to like process it all. And we just sort of like lose our taste for things, or like everything just seems like pointless, or like, what's the, it's all so futile. Like, what's the point of it all? So I feel like our lust for life is coming back. I think that we're a little bit ethereal right now, so it would be good to get grounded. And so like activities that involve us noticing our senses, getting in touch with our senses, it's very like, it helps regulate the nervous system. I feel like because so much is in flux and so much is changing, our nervous system is like unsettled at the moment because there's so much getting shifted and moved around. So much is coming up from the subconscious, right? So anything that we can do to sort of soothe and regulate and ground ourselves is great right now. And some of that is like eating great meals, taking time to go walk outside and feel your feet against the soil or against the grass, like grounding literally is really good for you. I love a salt bath. I love having like a long walk out in the forest and then coming in and taking like a long hot salt bath. That just helps purify my energy. It helps ground me so much, and it helps me feel like kind of like $1 million afterwards. And no matter how much of a big baby I am before, I feel so much better. I feel renewed after like a really long walk and a really long bath. So 2 of Cups. I mean, we have the Lover here. We have 2 of Cups. So I feel like deepening of bonds. There are maybe new friends coming in and old friends that we are, revisiting. But I feel like there's just like a lot of new energy coming through. And so I feel like, we're going to be having opportunities where we can make new friends and meet new people, and maybe get closer to people that we were maybe like on our, I don't know, peripheral. But there might be a meeting of like romantic meetings too, because in our weekly romance oracle message, there was like, it's safe for you to love, and it was like red flags. It was just like very mixed signals. So it felt like maybe a flurry of different people coming in and having discernment about being able to recognize red flags when you see them and then do something with them, right? So good news, like-minded individuals. This could also be too a person that you meet that is like a good creative partner, like maybe a great collaborator in like the kind of work that you do, or maybe something to do with your gifts. We've got the comic with Death. And so I feel like as we are transmuting and transforming our darkness, and as our negativity comes up and presents, instead of feeling bad about it or guilty or like ashamed of ourselves, we really don't need to feel those negative feelings, because that just drags us down even further. And it's like the feminine opponent like stealing double the points. It's like the masculine opponent gets us in the ego trip, and the feminine opponent comes in and like makes us feel bad about it. And so she takes double the points, right? So instead, like I said before, it's just like embrace it in all its glory. Have a good laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously, and just use the medicine of laughter to get yourself over the hump, out of the abyss, right? When we've been in between worlds and in limbo for so long, and we've lost our lust for life, and we've been like wandering like through the darkness and grayness of the limbo, it's just like we need something to bring us back to life again. And sometimes before we can even be brought back enough for a lover to like turn us on, we've got to get our like laughter back. We've got to get our joy back. We've got to get lighthearted again. So embrace the humor of it all. Look for the humor of it all. Lean into laughter as like life's best medicine. And so many times, like I see the universe has such a sense of humor, but there's so much depth in that humor too, that sometimes I'm just like, get out of my face with this. Just like, I can't with you. There's so much wisdom so many times in the clown, right? It takes like so many times the person who has the greatest humor and who's doesn't take life too seriously and is able to like wear it so loosely, and be able to laugh and have a good time is usually the person who's been through the most suffering and has seen the things that would kind of kill you, and it does kill that version of them, and then they're reborn, right? And then they're reborn into the comic, and they rise above the fray, and they get a good sense of humor because they have to laugh to keep from crying, right? So have grace and humor about who you are and where you've come from and where you've been and all the dings and the mistakes and all of it. Just embrace it all. But the more that we do embrace and allow to come up, like, so all of this shadow side of ourselves coming up, and our initial inclination is to like not want to see it, to look away, to avoid it, to bury it under the rug or put a defense mechanism on it or something because it's scary. We don't want to see it. But in order to heal it, to transmute it, to transform it, we have to look at it. We have to see it. It has to be brought into our awareness. So to cushion the blow, try to approach the whole situation with a sense of humor. Just try to laugh through it, to be lighthearted about it and not take yourself too seriously. Things are changing. And so the more that we can bring to the sacrificial slab and the more of our ego we can bring to the chopping block, the more power is released to channel into our higher destiny, into our dreams, into our purpose, into the joy that we are creating, into the love that is coming and that is blossoming in our lives, and the abundance. Because matter cannot be created nor destroyed. So when we overcome our darkness, that energy is released and it can be redirected into our positive growth and our positive change. So we have the King card here with the Hierophant. And this is just, again, reinforcing that idea that we are taking spiritual authority over our lives, that we have learned a lot about ourselves and about life. And so it's a very, like, we have to keep a balance from being in control of, like, governing our kingdom well and not being rigid or controlling, right? And also not suffering from the illusion that we have more control than we do. We have control over how we react to our initial thoughts and perceptions and feelings and what we do with those. But overall, we really don't have much control over what life brings us, only how we show up and respond. So we're really coming into a level of self-mastery with ourselves and with our mindset, with our energy, and with our spiritual studies, and how we are mastering like a spiritual authority over our lives, where we have built a connection with Source one-on-one. We have that connection with God that we can turn to that keeps us in alignment. Now the kindred spirit, the Lover card, the Two of Cups, this could be like almost like a depiction of these two energies who mentor one another and who are friends who have a lot to learn from each other and a lot to teach one another. And so there could be a new friend or a new group of friends, or this might be a season in your life where you start meeting more people who you have deeper connections with, and you have, people to talk to that you can share your ideas with, where maybe, up until now you may have been sort of like the tie-dyed sheep of your herd and no one knows what you're talking about ever. So maybe that's starting to change. And maybe you're the mentor to others, and everything that you've been transforming through and learning, it's just giving you something valuable to share with others and hold the light up for them as well. But hopefully there's someone that you have that can hold the light up for you too. And last but not least, sort of like tying all of this together, it's like there's a world of depth here that we are beginning to explore, that we're beginning to plunge our own depths. Is it plumb your own depths? Plunge your own depths? I meant to look that up today. I think that I've looked this up several times in my life because I can never remember. Plumb your own depths, I believe. But the subconscious came up in our weekly energy oracle forecast. So it's related to the ocean. Those are connected symbolically. And so I just think that I'm from London and I'm Cockney. But yeah, so much is presenting from our subconscious, and this is going to be things like limiting beliefs, or the way that we perceived things, or like inner conflicting desires that we didn't realize were blocking things from coming in because we didn't realize that we had an inner conflicting belief that didn't believe it was safe to get what we wanted. I think that these things have been presenting, and they're becoming more, we're becoming more aware of them. And so it's becoming easier to shift and put an end to that first half of life where we were operating under those presumptions. And now we can start fresh, new, having wiped our slate clean and having rewritten a lot of our subconscious and rewired a lot of it, rewired our nervous system. So the new cycle can begin with so much more clarity, with calmer seas, right? And hopefully sunnier skies, because so much of the work has been, like, the heavy lifting has been done, and it is behind us now, and we are new people, and so we will have all new work to do because the damage never ends. Yeah, but I think that was kind of a little all over the place. I don't feel like I explained that in a very streamlined way, but I do believe that beautiful experiences are coming into our life. I believe that new opportunities are coming. I believe that new friendships and possibly new love interests and new types of suitors will begin to start present. But I do feel like this is sort of like the first initial flurry of the feeling that, like, things are starting to happen. And there may not be anything definitive yet that's shown up, but I feel like you're just going to have little signs of life, right? Little green poking out of the flood waters, so you can see that the waters are starting to recede, if that makes sense. All right, you guys. Well, I will see y'all tomorrow for our weekly manifestation oracle reading, where we will check in to see where we're at with our manifestations and what might help us. Until then, y'all be good, but not too good. Ciao.